Hi guys, welcome to another cool film. Alright guys, we are still on the journey on the large scale enterprise software applications, and this is going to be our second episode. The first episode that we looked at was more of the user's perspective or the user's understanding of the taglines that we mostly come across, and we looked at that in our first episode. If you haven't watched that episode, the link will be showing here on your screen. And but if this is your first time, yeah, there's nothing wrong with doing a quick refresher. Actually, what we actually spoke about shortly was that anytime an application is developed, there's a tagline that the application is promising to you as the end user. So as an end user, most of the time you don't really appreciate some of these stuff until it becomes very the word is critical, or becomes an emergency happens, or you find yourself in a situation whereby you seem vulnerable and you start asking yourself some questions as to why do I even have this application? What does this application do for me? And you don't even first time you don't even think about it unless probably it has been marketed to you or it has been um, made aware to you via some series of campaigns or marketing strategies, you name it. So you didn't take it you didn't take into attention at the first time. Then later on you realize that no, some of these things they are saying is really true. So let's just look at an example. We've looked at one example. Let's look at an example. There's one application that I've really seen this, and I really love the app. I've used it before, so I want us to just look at their app and look at how they are also giving us this tagline. LinkedIn.com is e-transact, one of the oldest fintechs. Okay, one of the oldest fintechs in Ghana. So let's look at what they also have to say. So they have this Excel app that it was recently released, and I've explored it and I'm still exploring. But even before that, when you come across such taglines, you have something says send money again in seconds, simple, smart, and secure. They've developed the app, and then before they even want you to use the app or why you should have the app, they are telling you why you need this application, because you ask yourself, there are so many applications out there. I have MTN mobile money, I have my MTN, I have different payment applications. So why should I also download another application? So that's where it becomes a little bit competitive in the market. But every application has an advantage over another, and there are always trade-offs. So they are promising you that you can send money again in seconds. And it says it's why, because it's simple, it is smart, and it's secure. So if you are looking for a way of sending money in seconds, in terms of you ask yourself, in which situation would I want to be sending money in seconds? You see, every environment and how you want to be sending money. So they are just telling you. So at the first time, you may not really take into consideration why they are saying all this. So you say, okay, 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 we've heard. But later on, you realize that it really, really, really do count, or what they are saying is very true. So it depends on um the situation you find yourself in. This is not only the only one I've seen. They have others. I think because of my network, the page is not rendering as I wanted to. So let's just wait a bit and see if we can get any more information. But this is just one of the few taglines you see, and every application that solves a problem has a tagline or a value proposition that they are giving out. So if you are entering the market, or if you are buying, not buy, but if you are using an application, if you're entering the market maybe as maybe as an enterprise, then probably you also have a tagline that you have to develop, you have to promise, or you have to deliver on. But if you're also going to use an application, as much as possible, you wouldn't even consider all these taglines, honestly speaking. So here's another one. Running a business just got easier. And you're asking why. You ask why, and they say with Excel bulk payment, you can pay salaries, vendors, and suppliers in just a few taps. So they are more stressing on convenience, and they say it's fast. They don't um they don't trade on that. It is secure and it is stress free, and they keep stressing on that, which means that that's their strongest value proposition that they are giving out there. And this is just one. This just others too. So simplify your business transaction with Excel bulk pay, from salaries to vendors payment. Handle all your bulk disbursements securely and seamlessly. all in one app, and they keep stressing on the fast and secure and transparent. So superpower of convenience. So which means that there's something that the application that makes your life what that promises you all these. And let's look at one more. And this okay, I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. So that's because as an end user at first, most of the time you get lost. What's all this? So let's just look at this example. It's a brand new week. Accept payments with Accept payments your way with Excel Business. From mobile money to bank transfers and cards, Excel Business makes it easy for your business to get paid securely and on time. So they still stress on fast. So they are not fast. So it says accept payments. Let's just get started. Let's do this video. So let's pause it. It says accept payments seamlessly with Excel Business. How? Multiple payment options, secure and reliable. I see one of the words here, reliable. Grow your business, track transactions in real time. So these are just a few of the taglines out there, and you have another one here too. So you ask yourself as an end user, how is all this happening in the application, and why are they telling me all this? Because you don't want to have an application that also doubles your problem. We talk about this in the first video, whereby you find yourself in a situation whereby your card is not working and you want to make payment to the app, and the hours that you find your situation is maybe around 11 p.m. You've gone to the club and now you have to make payment, and you don't want to be in a situation whereby you can't go to the bank at 11 p.m. and go and remove money. The bank gives you one channel. They say we'll give you ATM cards, or that's a channel that you can make payment from. So it's a form of convenience. So having money on your card. So in your mind, you have to pay with POS, so I have to pay with any payment method that accepts card. Then you make your payment. Here's a part whereby your card or the card that you have, one way or another, is not working. And then you have an application. So they've tried to put all their solution on the application, as we've seen with the Excel app, and you decide to make payment to the app. And ask yourself, can I really depend on this application to solve my problem? So you think technically, sometimes you don't think technically, and sometimes too you may even think as a layman that it will always work, and it happens that the app too doesn't work, then you're in an embarrassing situation. So that's why they are making all these value propositions to you, so that the application becomes your companion that you can actually trust on. So there's always a stress on these taglines, and it's never going to go down. It's always going to go up, especially with one tagline that's around um availability or SLA. Something like, if you come on our systems, we'll give you 99%, 99% SLA. And you ask yourself, what does this mean? So as an end user, so they are all taglines that are out there. So this time around, we want to look at what it means to be reliable. So when they say the application is reliable, what do they mean by the application is reliable? How is it reliable? What makes it reliable? And then in what context has it become reliable? So we have to try and decipher all these things, because we don't want to be taken for granted. Someone will just cook anything and come and tell us this is this and that and that. And this is um, a technical knowledge that we want to just have a have an understanding into it, not to go around chasing people and say, you said no, 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 no. That's not the point, or that's not the focal point. So we've seen an examples, and I really like the way Excel app is really pushing their campaign, and it's very interesting. So after this series, when we are done, I'm sure when we start seeing certain things, we actually understand what's going on inside the application. We will not just be no more laymen or women who just play with applications. We know what we are into, we know what we are dealing with, and we know which application we have to be using and which applications we have to maybe use as and when we need to. So that's just the introduction to this. So this is just being about reliable. So we have a source code here, and the strategy for this video is that we are not really going to build a full app and make it reliable. There's a bits and pieces that you have to just do to make your application what reliable. You don't have to we don't have to let me say put the application in a reliable state. We have to just make it what reliable. So someone said, didn't you just say that a few seconds ago? Like, aren't you double crossing on your words? So what I'm trying to say is that at the moment you have an application here, and this application that we have here is currently what is not reliable. So if this is my payment application that I'm giving to, um, let's take it. I'm giving it to let's take a corporation scenario whereby we are giving a corporation an application that has to solve a problem, and their problem is they have huge customer base, and the way because of the customer base they have to have applications that have to be what very fast and have to be very secure and have to be very what reliable. So we are looking at a case whereby we are, our target customers, our target end user is a corporation. As for corporation, and then we are making promises that we will make your app fast, looking at the scenario, the environment they are in, so fast, secure, and then reliable. We can't trade on reliable. We can't trade on reliable. And we can also trade on fast when they are giving us a contest whereby they have a customer base of maybe 1 million customers. We can't trade on that. So that's their 1 million customer base. Yeah, let's say base. Let's put base here. So we can't trade on that at all. That's not what we want to trade on. So we are going to ask ourselves, how are we going to make it reliable first? Because that's my first catch. So we have to understand the reliable bit. How does this become reliable? What do we do to make it reliable? Or how are we going to make this reliable? Let's take a scenario with, let's say, AWS. Let's just go to, let's look at Amazon. Let's do a Google search. And Amazon, let's say AWS, and let's just do AWS. Let's search AWS. I want us to look at something. And then good. So we are seeing it here now. It says Amazon Web Services. Let's look at this. Amazon Web Services offers. I hope we can all see. I just look like this. Looks like. Let me refresh this again. It looks so dark at the back. Oh, right. What could be the reason? Because I don't change that teams and uh, Lotus. All right, so let me pop this on a different search engine. Let me just go to Internet Explorer. So Amazon Web Service is a cloud, is a whole. Oh, that means it's for my settings. Okay, because here too is becoming a little bit dark. Okay, so that means it's something that has to do with my settings. Let me just pop it up. Okay, so I think there's a dark mode setting there's a night settings that's been set. Okay, I think it's clearer here. You can see it more here than here. So let's just manage for now. So Amazon Web Service is actually a solution also out there. So as we took our case whereby we are looking at a corporation scenario whereby we want to create solutions for corporations so that in every corporation organization doesn't have um doesn't have to solve doesn't have to be in a situation they don't want to be in because of the lack of a certain solution. So if we take a scenario whereby a bank doesn't have a banking application at all, and they have to work with traditional methods of keeping records of all bank activities. You know the stress or the inconvenience they are going to experience and the issues that can arise even if records get missing or something happens. So we want to avoid that. So we decided that we'll provide them with a solution. So Amazon has given us a solution in regards to cloud services, and cloud solutions, as I've started acquiring some knowledge in it, is becoming a skill or even a big requirement for organizations because it turns out that saving your data on-prem or even working on-prem becomes very expensive. And also it becomes also um you get into a situation whereby you're not it's not flexible. That's the word it's not flexible. All because at any point in time, if new demands come, you have to pop up, you have to like pop some money out, or you have to bring cash up front to be able to fund certain things. So the overheads are quite expensive. Even in terms of infrastructure overheads, they are very, very expensive. When I say infrastructure, about mean servers, databases, like you name it, like networks, a whole lot of stuff comes into on-prem data storage. So to save you all that cost, There's a certain provider or a cloud provider that is going to handle all that infrastructure overheads, the servers, you name it, as and when your demand are increasing. Just imagine if you're a rural bank, you started with maybe only five branches. You're a rural bank. And I say rural, you don't operate in the mainstream, or you don't operate like them in the like how the big banks operate, like the commercial banks operate in the metropolis, or they operate to serve customers of a certain class. I wouldn't segregate, but a rural bank has its own customers that they are targeting. So that's why it's called a rural bank, or it's classified as a rural bank. So now you take a case whereby you started as a rural bank, and now you start to, one way or another, a year or two, I mean savings and loans, and you start increasing in terms of your capital, then your services get better, and you want to now become bigger. So you are moving, or you are, I don't say shifting, but you are gradually moving from a rural bank to maybe a big commercial bank. Then you are becoming bigger. So you are being promoted, or you are getting bigger because of the services that you are providing, and the convenience and the solutions that you are just rendering to people. So you are improving your services. So your services are being improved. So because of that, now if you started with an on-prem databases and servers, just imagine the amount of money you have to cough out just to be able to handle new customers and new different markets. And what about talk about expansions? What if you start entering to other markets, go across, you start performing cross border banking activities? What happens to all your infrastructure? What happens to all your servers? How are you going to manage all this? And it's going to cost a lot and lots of money when we talk about on-prem. So Amazon has decided to handle that, and they are one of the leading cloud providers out there. So they are saying that they will offer you reliable, scalable. You see, this time around, they don't promise on fast, or they don't mention secure, which doesn't mean that it's not secure, but there are certain taglines that go with certain solutions. So they are promising you reliable, scalable, and inexpensive computing cloud services. And that's their solution for the services, or let me say, the application they've built on the web that handles all this. So they are saying it's going to be reliable. You can trust them. When you say reliable, which means that we'll look at the reliable later. We are still trying to appreciate taglines and a few that we are going to work on, which is reliable and it's scalable and it's inexpensive. So you don't have to worry too much. So this is just one of the taglines that is out there. So we say, when we take reliable, how is Amazon going to make this reliable for us? Or what makes Amazon Web Service say that their solution is reliable? Because if we definitely go to Oracle 2 as well, Google Oracle. Oracle 2 is, as a database company or a database technology company, that's how I see them. You definitely say that they also are into on-prem. They're also into cloud solutions. So Oracle Cloud, let's say Oracle Cloud. So they too have a certain tagline that they will have to give us. So let's see if we can find any. So they have Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. So Oracle Cloud Infrastructure offers flexibility, performance, and compliance for cloud native apps, and you name it. So I don't work for any of these companies, but just by googling, you know what everybody has to offer. So you just need to know which one you choose or which one you go with. So now they say, is Oracle Cloud better than AWS? And as it goes on and on. So it depends on what you want. So as we saw that Amazon is saying that it's reliable, we ask ourselves, looking at the scenario whereby we're a rural bank or savings and loans, and we are now expanding and we want to become bigger, are we going to still do on-prem for all our activities, or we are going to go cloud for all our activities? So then reliable becomes a very, very, very of great concern. So when we say reliable, which I've been stressing so much on, what does reliable mean? So we want to now understand, what does reliable mean. When we talk about reliability, or when we say the application or solution is reliable, if you take a scenario whereby you go to club or a cafe, then the application you're using to make payments doesn't always work at certain times. Maybe 2 a.m. You left the club 2 a.m. 2 a.m. The application didn't work. At 2 p.m. the application worked. You were buying food, the application worked. Then you ask yourself that this application is not reliable because it's not all the time that the application is what functioning properly or is operating as is expected to what operate. And there has to be a reason why it's not reliable. And there has to be things that have to be done that makes what reliable. So if you ask yourself that maybe they tell you that Amazon Web Services that this cloud solution or this cloud platform, the cloud platform we've provided is reliable. They know why they are saying this because they've placed certain things in place that makes it what reliable. So we'll start looking at that in our core film, whereby we'll see how to make an application what reliable. And reliability always tends around maybe if there seems to be an issue. It's more about fault tolerance or designing fault tolerance system. So think about it. The ability of your solution or application to continue working or performing as is expected to work. So you ask yourself, why is it that the application worked at 2 a.m.? It didn't work at 2 a.m., but at 2 p.m. it worked. Something happened. There was an issue. So because of that issue, you couldn't fulfill your payment at 2 p.m., 2 a.m. But when that issue was resolved or when that issue was looked at, you were able to fulfill it at 2 p.m. So which means that the application developers or the solution providers had to do something to make it reliable. So if you're a business and then your business is centered around a certain technology or a certain solution, you start doubting because I want at any point in time, if you promise me that your service are reliable, I don't have to worry too much about whether there will be ups and downs or there will be issues or not. It's like MTN mobile money. Sometimes there's been an issue whereby you go online, you want to make payment, then the USSD channel you want to pay for it doesn't seem to fulfill. There always seems to be an issue around it. But if you go with the mobile application, you don't have an issue. So you ask yourself, which one is more reliable? Should I go with paying with USSD? That's a channel, or should I pay with mobile money app, the mobile app, which is also another channel? And you tend to always go with the mobile money because even though sometimes you need data, you find it more reliable to make your payment than to go with the USSD sometimes. And you ask yourself, and the person will ask you, sorry, the waiter or waitress asks you, please, have you paid? And what's happening? Like, and you're outside on a date, and you find yourself in this situation. You start scratching. You feel embarrassed. So you always want to go with reliable solutions, and the reliable solutions are the promises they are making to you that we are reliable. So if they say we are reliable, we are reliable based on what we've done. So we'll start looking at some of the things that we can do to make it reliable, and we'll look at that shortly. So this is just centered about being reliable. So reliable is all about whether there's an issue or not, you still have the ability to fulfill your payment. It could even be that there will be no issue at all. Even if there's an issue, you will not even realize it. So there are things you have to do to make your application what reliable. If you have a solution whereby every hour there's a fault, there's an issue, the solution is not reliable. You take airplane for instance, an aeroplane. An aeroplane has like I think four Rolls Royce engines. Just imagine if one aeroplane had just two Rolls Royce engines or even three. What if one blows or two blows? No, they have thought about all these things. So they've put measures in place so that in case anything happens to the engine, your car can the plane can still move. So that's about being reliable. So when I say when we see reliable, what they are just trying to tell you that as a non-technical person you don't care because it's an app. You in your mind you know that it has to work all the time, but the truth is it doesn't. It's not automatic that it has to work all the time. Something has to be done to make it work all the time, and if it's not being done, it will never work all the time. So if those things are not being put in place, the application will not be reliable. Now once they have been put in place, you are expecting that based on their SLA promises that they are giving to you, you definitely have to you definitely have to trust that those SLA levels are true. When we say SLA, service level agreement, so you just have to trust them on whatever SLA levels that they are giving to you. So these are examples of Amazon giving up 99 uptime. Yes, AWS offers a 99 monthly uptime percentages for services like, and they name a few. and which means that this is approximately close to 4.3 minutes of potential downtime per month. So this is a catchword. So if you have a business, or if you're a club owner, you're a restaurant, you're a hotel, you're a bank, and you have your banking services on Amazon Web Service, they are telling you that if you take a whole month, the probability of your customers experiencing any kind of issues like the application is not working and I can't pay, and then why is it that the service is not working and they are calling customer care and customer service, they are flying calls all over and then raising tickets. Amazon is telling that the whole month, just expect the service to go down for only 4 minutes. In other words, there could be issues, but the whole month is just around, it's only 4 minutes in a month, which means that it's highly reliable. So, which means that it's highly reliable, and they also have words like high availability. So, just to cut it short, we'll look at the techniques we'll do to make it reliable in another cool film. So, this is just for us to understand reliable, and 99% SLA. So, just imagine if you're a mall, or you own a shop, enterprise like Melcom, and then you decide to have your solutions or your infrastructure built around an SLA level of, maybe let's take an SLA level of 50%. That's because the engineer you're working with didn't understand all these steps. So let's take SLA level of 50%. Let's look. Um, let's see what is an SLA of 50%. That'll make it better. So you decide to work on an SLA of 50%, which means that half of the time your services will be down, half of the time your services will be up, which is not good at all. So you don't want to build anything around any. So you don't build anything around any provider that can fulfill his promise. It's a promise, and businesses, or the contract we are signing, is a promise that you can trust me on this and that, and your solutions and your enterprise will boost, or it will boom, or it will expand, or it will see the profitability it wants to see because of this kind of solution we are providing. So this is just around reliability. So it's just for us to understand the reliable aspect of it. And I think I've tried my best just to provide reliability. So another scenario, maybe we have a website like Mailcom. I like Mailcom so much. So I'll talk about Mailcom. Yeah, I can't talk about Amazon because I don't use Amazon. I use Mailcom. It's a Mailcom website. So you have a site like Mailcom, and Mailcom tells you that if you want to use their services, or the superstore, the online shop is always available, it's always up. Maybe in store will have times if closed, which of course it happens all the time. But they are telling you that maybe the website they have here, or the online shop they have here, you can always trust that it's always up. You can always depend on it to get your groceries or stuff. And because they are working on the technology that makes their store online promise what? Highly reliable or highly available. That's one of the terms, highly available. Yeah. So because of the technology they are depending on. So just imagine if Melcom, or just say Melcom services are all on Amazon Web Services, meaning that the probability of you shopping on Melcom with Amazon Web Services, of course, as a customer end user, you don't even think about all this, but you don't even, it doesn't even concern you. But becoming more technical when they are saying all these things, which means that you don't have to worry about anything. You can always go online, and then you can actually place your orders if you can't go to the supermarket. So this is just centered around being reliable. And so if Excel Lab, that's what you saw, Excel Lab is saying it's reliable, which means that Excel Lab has, there have measures have been put in place for Excel Lab to solve situations whereby few people have encountered poor service fulfillment or poor service provision by certain service providers. So that's why they are telling you that their solutions are now reliable. So they have done something, of they've put measures in place that you can actually depend on the application to actually what? Fulfill all your needs, especially if you're a business. If you're a business and you don't have to walk all the way to a bank, drive all the way to a bank, or to certain providers or certain vendors to be collecting payments, all because of issues about maybe he will not be there, maybe he's not around, so many scenarios. And then they are telling you that this application is reliable. You can rely on this application to fulfill your needs, meet your needs, and cover scenarios that you don't even think about, hours that you don't even expect, and they are telling you it's reliable for your business. You can rely on this. Hey, you have to go with it. So this is just one way of understanding reliable. So I hope that we've understood when we say the application is reliable, what we understand, what we mean by that. So in our next series, what we do is that we are going to look at how an application is being made what reliable, or what are they doing to make it what reliable, or what has been done to make it reliable. So once that's understood, then we can actually say that we've looked at reliability. So the next one we'll look at it will be scalability, because we've seen some of these things out there. So it's just for us to appreciate, to understand all these technical jargons out there. So as it stands now, this application we are working on is not reliable, and the technique we are going to use to make it reliable is what we are going to be looking at in the next film, still under reliability. So we just looked at this use case, and now we're going to look at the technique, or the technical side of it that makes it reliable. So thank you guys for sticking around. This is Code Films, and we want to continue serving you better. So when you have any questions or any suggestions, feel free to either drop a comment or send an email. All right, guys, we'll see you in the next film. Bye.